can't believe I just said that. You guys, I'm really being honest. That was a true wow. I can't believe I'm actually blushing.
Julia Henning, welcome to Wisdom Pie. Julia is a PSYM certified coach and lifestyle designer, author, and entrepreneur. With a master's degree in psychology and a background in immersive theater, Julia blends creativity, humor, and deep psychological insight to guide others toward ease and authentic living. She is the creator of transformative coaching programs, retreats, and resources that inspire personal growth and alignment. Julia's work centers on unlocking a way of living through intentionality, self discovery, and a dose of candid reality. She's the author of my now favorite book, It Gets to Be Easy If You Let It: The Art of Authenticity and Other Life Lessons We Skipped. Her mission? Helping people eliminate the illusion of who they should be and embrace who they truly are with ease. Julia, it is so great to have you on this show.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I am so honored to be here. Thank you so much.
I'm the mama bear here in the group, and I can't wait to hear about your adventures and how you wrote this book. So impressed. I really enjoyed your book so much, so I'm excited to get into it today.
Oh, thank you guys so much. I mean, honestly, I love talking about everything to do with the book, but it's just so much fun when it's like, I don't know, like when people get excited about the topic, it just really like enlivens me in such a way. So honestly, it's just an honor to hear that you guys have a copy and that you've enjoyed reading it. Thank you so much. It's an honor.
First of all, I don't even really consider this like a self-help book because it's so natural. In so many other self-help books, it's like, okay, step one, step two, step three, and you just immerse every single thing that you need to do within it. And it's a fun read. I could not put it down. It was great. And I was actually writing in my journal, Julia. I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. And this is what I've realized. I've had so many self-realizations just reading this book, and all of a sudden I'll look up and it's 1 a.m. I'm like, oh shit, I need to go to bed.
Oh my God, you're gonna make me cry, you guys. I mean, that was the whole like heart behind the book was, there's so many self-development manuals and guides and 2 cents out there. And I just found that, there was a desire to put something out that didn't feel like advice, but more just a companion on the journey that we're all on. And that word journey comes up so much in self-development, but it really is such a hero's journey to go from one state to another. So just to know that like the book's intention of being like a friend that you can carry with you more than being this is the how to live. It's like I'm so happy that people have resonated with that messaging and the tone. And I love getting from like a call from someone being like, I literally feel like you're talking to me when I read the book. And I'm like, girl, like that was the point. Cause some of those things you question if you keep in there and then you go, no, that needs to be there. Cause that's exactly how I would say it.
You totally accomplished it. And for me, I loved the educational part of it as well. So not only do I feel like we're sitting with you at the kitchen table and talking about all these things, and your cute little interjections of your personality are everywhere, which I love, which makes me feel like you're sitting at the table.
Right.
But the educational piece behind it too, describing intuition and manifestation, but also from your psychology background, the science behind it, which is me. I'm the science nerd. I want to learn. I want to know how it happens behind the scenes, how it happens behind our brain or whatever. So all of that educational piece, but in a fun way. I didn't feel like I was reading about psychology. I felt like I was reading about myself and how things work. I mean, it very well done, really fun.
Thank you. I received that very deeply. And it's a weird balance to try to strike when you come from the educational world. Like SciM, that's having a psych master's. And when people see that, they're like, I don't know what that is. I'm like, honestly, for a long time, neither did I. But you sort of have to find the pockets where you can use that erudite information and say like, okay, well, when I was in school, I wanted it to be digestible. And I told all my teachers, I'm not going to do this the more linear traditional way. I'm going to take this information and I'm going to apply it in a way that feels more holistic and personable and immersive. And so I always say, I'm like, it's a practical with a little bit of woo woo and a little bit of fun, like we got to have that structure and that foundation in which to then say, okay, the basic needs of how and why are met. Let's go deeper and let's go, more creative with what we can do with that information. So you're like one of the first people I've gotten to talk about sort of that side of it with. And I really appreciate that because, you never want to come across as too know-it-all. And you don't want to come across as too, I have no idea what the heck I'm talking about. So thank you. I receive.
Yeah, it's a fine line for sure.
Mm-hmm.
In like the first chapter, you mentioned ayahuasca and how the title of the book came to you. And I was like, oh, we have some stuff to talk about because I am so interested in the ayahuasca journey and like how do you get to the point where like, okay, I'm gonna go on this trip, quite literally a trip for like 4 days, and then how do you recover? How do you prepare? I have so many questions.
Well, I'm like, where do you start with this story? Being in the self-development world and being in the spiritual world and sort of the holistic healing world, at some point you come across the opportunity to experience plant medicine. For some people, that's psilocybin or magic mushrooms. For some people, that's marijuana. For some people, that's ayahuasca or bufo or combo. And in the beginning, I'm a huge proponent of psychedelics. I believe that they are actually very helpful in the curation of creativity, but also with a lot of psychological disorders. There is a lot of evidence that shows us that these things actually aid in like PTSD, depression. So I was always like, okay, I'm down, I'm into it. But for years, I was like, ayahuasca seems like a pretty scary situation. That's a big one, right? And you see all these movie depictions and media depictions, and you think, I'm going to lose my mind. Like, what does this mean? Well, I was actually on a different retreat. I was on an entrepreneur's like female networking retreat in Costa Rica. And there was a speaker there. Her name was Taylor Simpson. And I just knew the minute I saw her, there was going to be some weird connection between the two of us where we end up in a van together, driving from this retreat to the airport. It's like a 3-hour ride through the jungle. And somehow we get on the topic of ayahuasca. And she's saying, I'm hosting an ayahuasca retreat like in a couple of months. And there's like a couple spots left. You should come. And I remember being like, oh gosh, am I ready for that? But they always say, and I don't know who they are, but they always say, if it's a yes, it's a yes. So when you get called and you get the opportunity and your body goes, okay, go for it. That is the time to do it. Don't overthink it. Don't hesitate. Don't lean into the resistance. Because if you're a no, you're very much like aware that you're a no. So I'm talking to this woman. She's like, I just see it in like 5 or 6 years. You're going to be like on the scene, boosting with all these ideas, yada, yada, yada. So I'm like, okay, sure. Why not? I go home, I sign up, and not understanding that a 4-night drinking experience of ayahuasca is more than most people will do in their entire lives. So I'm thinking this is like the norm. This is casual, not a big deal. I take a flight, a boat, a bus all the way to this island in Costa Rica. I'm with like 22 other women. They're telling us to set these intentions. They're prepping our bodies. I don't always go deep into detail, but like we're yuking out like everything in our systems to prepare. They're like dousing us with floral water. And I'm just thinking like, what? Can I swear on here?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
What the fuck is about to happen? I'm like, okay. And in my mind, you're sitting with these women you don't know, and we're all like, oh, I hope I see these goddesses and these animals that you hear about. And like, I think I'm going to see, these other worlds. And I just everyone kept asking, like, what's your intention for being here? And for me, it was truly just, I just want to know what it's like. I wasn't really there to heal something. I wasn't there for deeper introspection. I was just like, I want this experience. I want to know what ayahuasca is all about. But they kind of tell you, you need to have an intention so that the medicine, because they call it a medicine, guides you. Otherwise, you're kind of just in the void of like your subconscious, and that can be a really scary place to be. So my intention was, why am I here? Why am I human? Why did I come back for another life? Because everyone always says, oh, you're such an old soul. when you have a baby face like mine, you're in your 30s and you go, no, no, trust me, let me talk about something before you go quick to judge my exterior. I was like, all right, what's this roundabout all about? Night one, I'm like blasted in the cosmos. I am like experiencing the joys of humanity. I'm like, show me what I love. And she shows me all my family and friends and just all these things about humanity that I was just so like blissfully in touch with. And I don't actually talk about this story very often, but there was in a moment where my neck sort of went backwards as if, you're kind of looking up into the sky. And it felt like my throat, and you could say my throat chakra, was being like charged with this energy. And I couldn't understand it at the time, but I kept perceiving the color blue, which is the color of your throat chakra. And it literally, I kept remembering feeling like I was Superman, being embedded with these like superpowers. And when it was done, it was like my head came back and I was like, whoa. And the shamans, they're going around to each person and they're singing their Icarus, which is like their prayer song. And each person is different based off what you're sort of purging and healing. So when the shaman gets to me, I don't know how, but I somehow in their native Shipibo language understand that he's saying throat. He keeps saying the word jonk. And I'm going, oh my God, he's talking about my voice. He's talking about throat. And I start purging into this bucket. And I swear to God, you guys, I look into this bucket and I see the cosmos. And I am so grateful for this purge like I've never been before. I mean, people think it's the scary part. It's uncomfortable, but like you just feel generational trauma, all these woes and worries just come out of your system. So this happens, and I'm sitting there and I'm just like, whoa. And I noticed there's like a panther in the corner looking at me, and I'm like, all right, here we are. Like, let's do this. And so I start to get the wherewithal to ask the question, like, why am I here? What am I supposed to do? And this sentence comes forward. And the way that some people will discuss or describe ayahuasca is you're having an internal conversation with this other consciousness, this voice. So there's the you that knows that like you're on the floor in a jungle hut, like drinking ayahuasca. Then there's the you that's having this conversation with this like ancient spirit. And then there's ayahuasca. And she's talking to me, and it usually comes forward as a female for most people. And she just keeps saying, it gets to be easy. And I remember going, well, what the fuck does that mean? And she starts to show me this image of maybe a past life or an avatar life of me sort of in this community and all of these depictions of things I was doing. And I was thinking, there's a lot of freedom that you keep showing me. I am somebody who's rebelling against this societal structure. I'm very independent in all of these worlds. And then there was this notion of shame and resentment that was starting to come up, showing me that, I'm a Caucasian person from Midwest. I'm a young woman and I've been embedded with a lot of privilege. That privilege has given me the opportunity to do a lot of things in this life and travel, see the world, be educated. But there's a lot of shame around that privilege that when you're handed things, when you get to just do all these things, it can create this internal struggle of, did I earn this? Am I worthy of this? Is there value in anything? If there's always a safety net, if there's always a solution, if there's always someone to catch you, what's the response? Well, for me growing up is let's make everything harder. Let's work as hard as we can and burn out and try to prove ourselves even more, even though no one's asking me to. So Aya's showing me all of this, and she keeps going back to, it gets to be easy. And then she goes, if you let it. And I realized I'm really not letting it be easy. I'm actually resisting all this ease that this life was giving me to do these things that I keep believing are outside of myself or that need other people. And so I kind of say, okay, just give it to me straight. What is this? And she goes, you will write a book and this will be the title. And that was just night one. So I will cut to the chase and saying we had 3 more nights, and night one was this blissful journey. It's like the commercial I say, if you want to do ayahuasca, let me tell you about night one. Night two is where the work comes in and, the suffering and the pain, and you go, oh my God, this is intense and insane. And then you got 2 more nights of this. So needless to say, I left that experience completely sort of in shock, kind of uneven sure what to integrate because they prepare you for the experience, but they don't really, my facilitators, my retreat leaders, they didn't really prepare you for the integration and what happens when you go home. And when you go home is when those lessons and the work really starts. And so I write about it, but it gets to be easy if you let it. It felt like this puzzle that I sort of had to put together and solve for the next year. And when I got home, my whole life changed. I ended a partnership, all of my friendships changed. I was very hermited. Um, a lot of my faith and belief in the things I had once loved and sort of participated in had really dwindled and reshaped. And I kind of took this year off from coaching, from being a facilitator and a public speaker. I was like, I need to just be a human and allow myself to let it be easy. And then the year after that, it was when I was working with clients again and noticing that all the people that I was working with, these high tier clients, were all coming to me for some flavor of ease in their life. And I started to see the pattern of, okay, my authenticity, my candor, my ability to just show up as myself in any situation is what these people are attracted to. It's what they're wanting in their life, to be unburdened, to be at ease and peace. It wasn't just, I have a goal and I want to hit it, or I need accountability, or, help me scale my business. That wasn't my niche. My niche was, I will be me to give you permission to be you. And you will find that the more you allow yourself to be, the easier your life is going to start to get. That doesn't mean it's void of work and effort. And then I started to see, oh, it gets to be easy if you let it. A couple months later, I had a chance connection with a guy who wrote a book about writing a book. This was a conversation I had with a dear friend of mine at a bar one day over wine. And she goes, you need to write a book. And I go, yeah, I will one day. And 6 months later, the same friend sends me an email and she goes, I met the author of this book. His name is Jake Kelfer, and he runs this imprint and this program that basically supports new writers in creating their own books. I send this man an email about the idea, and about half a month later, I had a contract and a book was on its way.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
And then I did ayahuasca about 4 more times the following year, only to learn like, oh, there's so many more things that this lesson and this theme want from me. But I will say, when it comes to ayahuasca, not for the faint of heart, but also not as scary as people make it out to be. That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah,
Wow.
I had a friend ask me, she's like, sometime we got to go do this stuff. Let's go on a retreat and do this thing. And I was just like you said, I was immediate. I'm like, nope, nope,
Mm-hmm.
nope. I am not ready for that. I'm not even close to being ready for that. And probably you would not, I mean, I love you, but you're not the person I'm going to go with, was what I was thinking. I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking, no, if I end up doing something like that, it's going to be in a completely different scenario. But really quick,
Mm-hmm.
I loved to hear that you said the shamans are kind of there guiding you.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me feel also more relaxed and calm about it, because I know
Mm-hmm.
that there's guides and you're being guided and you're with a group of people, but I just didn't know there was quite that much direction, like to help you or watching you, or I mean, I'm just so fascinated by it.
It depends on where you go. I mean, I was in a very structured retreat location in Costa Rica. It's called Solterra, and it's all about the ayahuasca experience. So they are really helping you prepare in the beginning, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. They're setting you up with intentions. They're giving you practical exercises and tools to kind of prep parts of your body and parts of your mind you don't know might be activated when this occurs. And then you have the two, in my situation, we had two shamans going around the whole situation. But then we also had two guardians. And those are basically like the nurses. They're really with you if you need help, if you need grounding, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're sick. They're kind of the ones walking you from place to place. So you're never fully on your own because you're so vulnerable in that situation. And in a lot of times, you can't even stand up for some people or really coherently use your senses. So there's a lot of caretaking. In future ceremonies, they were a bit more casual. I actually participated mostly in California last year. And in those cases, you still have the guardians. In fact, you usually have more guardians. So there's a bunch of people everywhere. You usually have about one shaman at the core. And there's always a workshop. There's always something to just share what's going on, set an intention, get yourself ready. But yeah, I mean, I love that you just said, like, this person asked me to do it and it was a no. I think who you do it with is totally key. And it's not necessarily something I personally suggest as something you do with like your girlfriends. It's a very intense interpersonal experience. And for each person, it's really different. It can be a lot to just casually share that with somebody who's used to you at a certain level or used to you in a certain way, because you are going to immediately change and you sometimes need really a lot of space to integrate from who you were when you started and who you're going to be after.
Yeah. See, Mom, you immediately say yeah, say no, and I'm like, yeah, let's go. Like I want to do it.
Yeah, I
But
feel that,
I
girl.
but when you said like it has to find you, I feel like it has to find me. Like
Mm-hmm.
the perfect situation, the perfect people. I feel like I would have to go on like a solo mission. Like I wouldn't want anyone who knows me to be around me, if that makes sense. Because you're
Yeah.
right, you're not yourself and you're going deep within. I don't want to look to the left of me and see my boyfriend or something. I don't have a boyfriend, but
No.
I like, you know.
Well, you know what's funny about that? I actually met my current partner at an ayahuasca ceremony about a year ago. He was the musician. And it was sort of, we'll both say it differently, but it was kind of a first sight, like there's something going on here. And actually, in my journey, I didn't even know this man's name. And I was dating someone else. And in this journey, ayahuasca was like, that's a love story. And like, he's going to be significant. And by the end of 3 days, like the connection was so strong. I mean, everyone's like, this is ayahuasca. Don't trust it. Like, you guys are just, this isn't real. We've been together for a year as of like the next week. And
Oh my gosh.
I mean, but I say that because I remember being like, I'm not here for that. I'm not here to be distracted by this thing that, present life, social life, Julia would want or maybe be open to, but I'm not here for that. However, it happened anyway. When I was on retreat, you get to be the version of yourself that I wouldn't say isn't who you are in your normal life, but you get to be the version of yourself that has the most permission because nobody knows you. It's nobody's going to judge you, nobody's going to think twice, and there's a power to that and also such a freedom and a liberation because that is basically you defining, like, not just who you are to yourself, but who you get to be moving forward. And anytime you like, yeah, you have like a friend or something nearby, it's not that it's bad. It's just I find that people will restrict themselves and feel this limitation. And so I'm like, liberate the heck out of yourself and go alone. And I will say this, some people will say, like, don't go anywhere but the jungle to do it. It was an amazing experience to have it be so authentic and where the medicine is truly brewed and with, the culture of people who basically created this idea and this medicine. But I also say, magic can happen anywhere. And as long as you feel safe, then, don't knock the opportunity or invitation if it's not, in the middle of Peru or Costa Rica for some people.
So we know that you got your book up and running and going. How long did the process actually take for you to write the whole thing, send it in, and then what's the publishing kind of like? Because I know you're an Amazon bestseller,
Mhm.
and how does that work? Why did you? I mean, do you sell it to Amazon? I'm just gonna let you talk.
I went to a seminar by this man named Jake, and he runs a business called Big Idea to Bestseller. And they also run an imprint called Reflect Publishing. So at this seminar, you're getting like motivated to write your book. They're giving you all these like, inspiration. And at the end of it, they offer you this opportunity to basically pay for publishing. And there's different tier levels of that. So if you pay to play, which is something that a lot of people don't really talk about is professional paid publishing, you get the rights to your book, the copyright, you get the like complete royalties. All that the imprint and this company is making is the initial investment of you basically paying for all of the professional services. So I paid to play in the beginning and got a contract under the imprint, which basically said that they got to not just have me be a part of the program, they basically also invited me to be a part of the imprint, which was pretty cool. I mean, there was kind of two opportunities happening at once. In the beginning, I was always a little unsure, like, do I tell people that, like, I invested in my own book? But then I was sort of like, more people need to know about this because more people believe that only if I get signed by, like, Random House or Penguin House will I be a professional author. But in reality, where are most books being bought? It's Amazon. People are not necessarily going to the bookstores anymore, unfortunately. So what they offer, Reflect Publishing, is you're going to get a complete virtual online campaign. We're going to do all of the behind the scenes. Like, you're going to write the book, but, like, we're going to give you editing. We're going to give you the cover design. We're going to publish the book. We're going to put it online. We're going to give you everything so you don't have to deal with any of it. And I was like, heck yeah, sign me up. I want it to be easy. I don't want to do any of this. And I want to own the rights to my book and make all the money. So I'm like, why wouldn't I do this?
I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize when you
Right?
go with a publisher. It's like it's not yours
It's not
anymore.
yours. And if you're a new author, they will not print a certain amount of copies because they know that that book's going to sit on a shelf. And unless you have an internal following or you have the money to pay for marketing, you're not going to be a New York Times bestseller, and you're not going to be on that new sellers list book table at Barnes and Nobles. You're going to sit on a shelf in self-development and hope that somebody finds your title. And I said, you know what? Screw that. I want to be an Amazon bestseller because once you get that title, you never lose it. And is it New York Times? I mean, we made this joke outside of, or I mentioned to you guys outside of this in the email, said, as much as I want to say I'm a New York Times bestseller, no, I'm not. I'm an Amazon seller because that book hit number one in multiple categories versus being on one list. And yes, the stigma around that was something I had to deal with in the beginning. But I was also like, it's my first book. Who cares? How many people can say they wrote a book and got it published? That was my whole thing. So anyway, I signed the contract in April. The book was published in December. So it took me about 5 months to write the book. We did about a month of outlining in the beginning. I had about 2 weeks of procrastination and overwhelm. And then it was hit the ground running. And a lot of people are always like, you had help. Like, somebody helped you write this, or like, how did you do it that fast? I said, it's literally just my education, my coaching curriculum, my own personal stories, and the vernacular that I use in my daily life. This was all there. I didn't have to work that hard at this. But really, at the end of the day, I also had a coach during this. I had a book coach, Anastasia. Shout out to her. She was a lifesaver because she did for me what I do for other people. She kept me motivated and accountable and just gave me some perspective. But never once did I have a ghostwriter or someone write any sentence that came out of the book. And in about, I want to say it was maybe September, I give the book to the editor. They send me notes. We go through this a couple of times. They send me a bunch of cover designs based off of this huge PDF that I sent them because I did a ton of research. I had something in my mind. So they're sending me all of them. The minute I saw the one, I knew it was the one. And we just started basically putting the book together. I start talking about it on social media. And the book itself, once it was out of my hands, they covered everything in terms of making sure the title was on Amazon, in terms of making sure, like, I knew where I was getting paid. And then on December 3rd, we had a huge, like, social media launch, basically getting every person and their mothers to buy the book on this day. And I mean, it just is the beautiful ripple effect of putting out something in the world that you believe in, that so many people bought that book, and it became a number one bestseller in creativity, journaling, self-development, spirituality, at some point like strength and health, which was random. And I'm just sitting there being like, these are the categories that shaped me. Like, these are the books that I'm reading. And suddenly my book is on these lists. And yeah, I mean, once that happened, you kind of have a day where, like, you're on top and you think everything's amazing. And then the next day you're like, okay, cool. Now it's a regular day and I've got a book in the world. And they told me in the very beginning, they were like, the biggest mistake that authors make is not talking about the book once it's out. And I saw that very apparently, that, you have all this hype on this thing being out there, and then what do you do with it? Because it's mine, I own it. And so right now we're kind of playing with, how do you keep it fresh? How do you know, keep it in people's minds? Well, we still haven't even launched the audiobook. You haven't even heard me say these words. We have a mastermind coming out for the book in March. We've got, a retreat at the end of the year for the book's themes. And so, yeah, I mean, the whole process itself was pretty quick, I would say. But when I look at it, I mean, it took about a year of my life. Yeah, that feels right.
It's beautiful how you tell the story, because I think some people just feel like they have a book in them. And I think there's a lot of people who feel like they have a book in them. And there's that concept of, once you have the idea, it's not going away. So what are you going to do with the idea? But I was so curious, because I have a couple of book ideas, and I just have held back and held back and held back, and here I am. But that was one of my questions, because what are the steps? Is it hard? And then once you actually sit down to do the writing, how do you organize your thoughts, and, going through that whole process. But the way you've described it, it's like you honestly had the book in your brain. It just had to get from your brain to the book. But you also had this beautiful spiritual journey on the way to getting there. And so it just like, like you said, it gets to be easy. And I think just for me personally, I'm making it really hard. I mean, so many things you've said I identify with, and here I'm probably 25 years older than you. um,
Girl.
but like I even wrote it down. Like, you have this, you felt like you had to work hard. Everything has to be hard, and you can't get anything easy. Nothing is supposed to come to you easily. And you can't make money unless you work your ass off and you burn yourself out and you do crazy stuff. And then there's also, making shifts and changing friends and going into hermit mode and being able to hear your own voice. And all of those parts of your journey are so beautiful, that you're setting yourself up for, like, what's next? What gets to be easy next? And I don't have any idea where you're headed or where you're going, but you're just showing us that the process can be not only just not easy, as in like, oh, this is easy, I had a book in my head and I just wrote it down. Like, it's not really that. It's just, if you can go with the flow and go with the things that are presented to you along the way as they show up, look what you can do. It's incredible. So fun to watch you
Thank
guys.
you.
Yeah.
I want to
Amazing.
say that they told me in the beginning, my publisher said, writing a book will change you, as anything does. And I was in a group with a bunch of other people who signed up to have their book be published, who really struggled and called me during the process saying, like, it's just not working, or like, I just don't know what to do. And again, I started noticing, I was like, okay, here's a new opportunity for me. I'm starting to coach people on how to write a book. I'm like, suddenly now this is part of my like repertoire and curriculum. And, the coaching offer that I do give people, I call it the blueprint. It's like, you're creating a blueprint for the life that you want to be living. And I'm going, oh my God, this is like literally just what I've been doing. You start to see like the threads between everything. But when it comes to the book, I've had a lot of people come to me saying, oh, I have a book, I don't know what to do. And a lot of people have this image that, writing a book is sitting at your desk or in a library or in a cabin, and it's romantic and you're just pouring out pages. This book was getting done on like airplanes. I mean, I was on a plane every month last year. Truly, sometimes people being like, I don't know how you did it. I said, I don't know how I did it either, to be honest, but we did it because I had the incentive. I made the investment. It was no longer just an idea. I was technically under contract. I had 6 months to get it done. So there's the accountability factor. But it was also, you know, accepting. And I talk about this in the book. You have the awareness that you want to do something and you have the aligned action. Well, I'll write the book. But the acceptance of where you're at in the true process of it is what most people resist and overlook. I accepted, I'm a new author. I'm a good writer, but this isn't going to be the example of my prolific writing. This is going to be my voice introduced to the world. This is going to be kind of the basic sort of watered down version of what I know. This is going to be me. You know, is there a more existential novel on its way? Maybe. Is there another handbook? I don't know. But I accepted I'm a new author. This is going to do well for a little while. I'm going to have to work hard at keeping this in the world. And at the end of the day, why do I want this? And that is the biggest thing that they're going to ask you is, why do you want to write a book? And I remember saying, I was like, I just want to see if I can. And remember what I said about ayahuasca. I just want to know what it's like. So there wasn't this outcome of like, I want to make money. Oh, I want to be famous. I want to be a public speaker. I want my business to grow. It was, I just want to see if I can do it. And honestly, leave this earth knowing there's a book with my name on it that will outlive me. That's pretty incredible. And that was the momentum that made me go, I don't know what the heck to write, but you know what? Let it be easy. Does it really matter? Yeah, okay. And then it got easy and the ideas came flowing. But the other thing I'll say is, if you really know what you want to say, and it's like, this is kind of the woo woo part of me, and I say woo woo, but it is a deeply like profound spiritual belief I have. If you really know what you want to say, ask that message to give you the words and it will come through. And that takes a lot of pressure off of going, I have to have all the answers. I have to be the expert. I have to be a great writer. It's, there's a message, there's a theme, there's a story. Tell me what you want me to say. And then you become the conduit and you become this passageway for this to come. And that's truly when I noticed that the book was just happening. I was sort of out of control of it at that point.
It's such a great way to go about something, because something that is creative, that has the potential to make money, a lot of people, I think, focus on the dollar bill,
Mm-hmm.
and it ends up not being a passion, it ends up being a job.
Mm-hmm.
And you put so much pressure on yourself to say, okay, I'm putting myself out into the world. I mean, I go into fights with myself about this all the time. Like, it's not meant to make money. It's meant to actually touch someone, and it's actually meant, like, my voice has a spot in this world. And mom and I talk about this all the time, you know, what if it does get to be easy? Like, that's seriously like our one of our mottos. And I think that we have to remind ourselves to ask us that question, where it's like, what do you want to put out into this world? And if it makes money or if it doesn't, you know, it's like
Yeah.
you're contributing to someone's life and you're making it better and you're inspiring someone else to take that leap and be brave.
Okay, so real talk, you're gonna make me cry. I'm literally going through that
That's
right
allowed
now, you
here too,
guys.
by the way.
I mean, like literally though, like these podcast interviews for the book have been so inspiring to me because behind the scenes of this, I'm actually going through a really deep transition where on the surface it seems like I have all these accomplishments, all this success. But I'm being really honest now and I'm getting the opportunity to be honest and I just want to share this because this is the truth. I'm recognizing that a lot of these successes are not actually as fulfilling as you think they're going to be because you do it and I've proven I can do it and I'm not ruled by money, which to my detriment at times is something I should probably work on and I am, but I'm ruled by purpose, you know, and I happen to be very lucky and very privileged. However, right now I'm literally going through a very deep freeze where I have all these ideas and all of this potential and all of these opportunities. And I don't know what to do with any of them. I'm not being called to do anything about any of them. And when I'm in a situation like this, I always say, I am my own first client. So I'm observing myself going, what do you really want to do with your purpose, with yourself, with your time? Because all these things, yeah, you know, they were successful for a minute. They made you some money. They got you some notoriety. You're accepted. But are you really, let's say, happy? Are you really fulfilled? Are you really letting it truly be easy? And I'll be honest with you guys right now, this year is a huge leap of faith for me into an arena of authenticity that I actually haven't even given myself permission to fully step into, where my biggest joy is talking about existentialism. I'm a philosopher at heart. I remember being 17 years old and going, no one pays you to sit on a rock and talk about life, but now they do. And they're called platforms, and they're called podcasts, and they're called pages. And in fact, to just be able to talk about life without a brand niche, without an outcome point, it's actually why this year I just announced today, actually, I'm only coaching 3 people this year, because it's the only amount of space I have to really give that time and that work and that career away. Because right now there's a whole permission slip being written on, well, you might not make as much money, and you might be known kind of confusingly in your field for what you're doing. But if you're happy doing it and it's making you want to get up and do it, the ripple effect of that is undeniable. And that is letting it be easy. So I'm really glad, Haley, that you said that, because I just want to share that, like, even when you think someone's figured it out, it's like there is always going to be a new layer of, okay, you got to that level, but like, check yourself,
Yeah.
what's next? What else?
Yeah,
So,
totally. Would you say that that's kind of like your shadow? Because
mm,
you talk about talking to your shadow in the book. How do you go
hmm.
about that in your own practice and like your everyday? Do you find yourself kind of catching and be like, nope, we're not going to do this today. We're going to actually like practice what we preach.
This is a fun question, because I'm not always, I'm also being very honest with you guys. Not that
I
I'm
love
not, but
it.
like,
That's what
you're catching
we're
me
here
on a
for,
really
wisdom.
authentic day. Yeah. I'm not always the harbinger of what I preach, because, and again, it doesn't come from ego. It doesn't come from any type of self-centeredness that I can say this. It's pure self-awareness. My self-awareness at times is, it's my superpower and it's my kryptonite. And so I can see my shadow really quickly, and I've been able to sort of interact with it since I was very young. It was very scary at a young age. No one really loved my parents to death, but they had no idea how to deal with an existential child. And when you're like 6 years old and you're going like, who is Julia? And they're like, oh God, like, what do we do with this? I've been able to mitigate, and I use that word, mitigate, my shadow by allowing it to take over when it needs to. Because, and I'm just going to say this the way it is, because I have the strength to deal with my darker side. A lot of people, I would say, don't. And that's not to knock anyone's capability. It's just, it's the capacity and space you have for the parts of yourself that feel most uncomfortable. A lot of people don't like to be uncomfortable. And that's where like the reframe to reclaim method comes in. Okay, this is something I'm not enjoying. So how can I turn this into something that I can use that is more productive, that feels like a positive? I sometimes will evoke that. And sometimes I'll just say, today, I'm really rageful, or today, I'm angry, or today, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And I have to almost let myself be very hard on myself in order to get to the lesson of why that experience is happening, so that I can alchemize that into wisdom for other people. So I kind of allow myself to be a beacon of angst and experience, because I understand that my purpose is to talk about my experiences and to share with other people these levels of the human condition so that they can understand themselves better. Again, I say this not to sound in any way like there's no hierarchy. There is no level of, again, ego that comes from this. This is a very deep humility and a lot of self development work I've done on myself. That when my shadow comes forward, I still have to be like soothed like a baby. I still have my friends say to me, like, you need to rest. And I'll go, oh, I don't know how, but I have all the tools, I have all the lessons. And I just talk to myself out loud all the time. I probably sound crazy, but I will just sit there and be like, Julia, you know what you're doing. Or like, Julia, come on, get it together. And it's sort of a quick turnaround for me. Um, because when you're in my position of I say healing and like facilitating, it's very challenging to receive that type of support from other people because you sort of feel like, oh, I have it all inside of me. But I would say that that's actually my biggest secret is I ask for a lot of support, and I am very, very adamant that what feels like shadow needs to be expressed. I know that was kind of a really long-winded answer, but to kind of cut to the point, I allow my shadow to be there. I trust it because I've been dealing with it for so long. I know that it has a purpose, and so I try to give it space. And I am very upfront and very honest and very direct about almost every thought and feeling I'm having with whomever it affects or myself. And that helps me to clear all of that way so that I can claim what needs my attention. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. I'm like,
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a beautiful answer because even like just the talking to yourself and asking the questions brings you back into the present moment
mhm,
where most of the time we want to run from that shadow shit. I mean, I'm like, nope, no, thank you. Don't want to go there. That sounds dark and scary. I don't want to revisit my 8-year-old self who is screaming for my attention.
mhm,
This is something that really stood out to me in your book also that I'd love for you to talk us through it if you can. I don't know if you want me to give you a specific example, but when you're talking about blocks and sabotaging yourself.
mhm.
And first, I guess my first part one of that question is that like the shadow side that is disrupting our forward progress, the blocks and the sabotaging and the procrastination and the second guessing and the questioning and all that kind of stuff. But I love the way you talk about, tell me, is it reclaim to reframe or reframe to reclaim?
Reframe to reclaim. So you got to reframe it so that you can reclaim it.
Yes, yes.
Mhm,
So because I love self help. I joke that I read my first self help book when I was 17. I mean, I was like, tell me what to do. I
mhm,
am in trouble and I need help and I don't know how to navigate this by myself. And so I just went, I didn't have, um, say, similar to what you said about this being an existential child is like,
mhm,
I couldn't go to my mom and say, I don't know what to do with this. And she was busy raising all of my sisters and working full time. And, it's just like,
mm,
okay, Steph, you're on your own. So how are you going to figure this out? So anyway, I am somewhat of a self-help junkie and I love all of the methods and all of it. So
mm.
when I read about your variation of the blocks and the self-sabotage and that am really interested in going a little bit deeper on that. And now, after we talk, I'm going to read that whole section of your book. In fact, I might just start at the beginning after we talked and read it all again, because now that we've
Mm.
had this conversation, I'm even deeper in than I was. So, anyway, that's a long question, but the shadow side, the blocks, the self sabotage, and doing the transformation into reclaiming it.
So to answer the beginning, first of all, beautifully said. Such an expressionist. Oh, I'm with you, girl.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I can see it. I see that existentialist. The beginning of the question, if I remember, is that yes, I would say that the shadow side is sort of synonymous with your blocks, and that, you should always, I say should, but expect blocks to come up when you're working towards something because anytime that we're moving up that sort of pyramid of enlightenment, there's got to be something that sort of makes that effort, let's say, worth it, but sort of feel like you've actually gone through something. And I want to just say a couple different levels of blocks. We call it SEMBU, SEMBU, and that's somatic, emotional, mental behavior, and unconscious. I talk about it in the book. Somatic is like tension or contradiction in the body or contraction. Emotional is getting like upset or like a trigger. Mental is like the limiting story or belief that we hold on to. Behavior is I don't know how or I'm not ready. And unconscious is like that upper limit or like not being able to go past a certain point. And blocks, they create a negative impact and unwanted results. So I always say try to clear blocks behaviorally first, then go deeper if need be, because what we try to do is go like, why am I like this? That's like therapy. And a lot of times, I love therapy. I started out as a counselor. Like, therapy is a window into the emotional conversation. Coaching is the behavioral. People always ask me, what's the difference between being a therapist and a coach? Coaching, we're taking you into the future. Therapy is going to focus on the past. Both are beautiful. I prefer kind of going forward myself, just to give an
Same.
insight on what we're talking about, right? And you can
Yeah.
kind of feel the energy of people where I'm like, I think you want to be in coaching more than you need therapy. And not to say that there's a need. Everybody would benefit from both very deeply. When you have a block, and let's just say you said like you want to talk like a certain example. Let's say like you're avoiding a conversation with a friend. Somebody said something, or they did something you don't like, and you know you need to talk about it, or you need to talk with them, but you're avoiding it. So we would call that a behavioral block. You're not doing the thing you know you should or need to do in order to feel better. So when we have this awareness of the blocks, we can look at our body and check in with where that stress lives. We can use questions to connect the dots to become more self-aware. We can look at our stories about ourselves or the people in our lives who also have these blocks. And we can basically, I would say, look at all the excuses that are coming up that's keeping me from the outcome that I desire. So if you are avoiding talking to your friend, and let's say we were working together, or I'm like, you're on your own, you're coming to me, you're like, what do I do, Julia? I'd say, well, what do you want? Because you want something that you're blocking from having. And your shadow, we say shadow, but I sometimes like to say, like, just the other part of me doesn't want to deal with this. It doesn't want it for some reason. So when I talk about in the chapter, befriend your blocks, I mean it. Talk to the block. Okay, I'm avoiding having a conversation with my friend. So we're talking to avoidance. Avoidance, why are you here? And I mean, like, people think I'm joking when I'm like, no, sit in the mirror and literally talk to yourself and see, just like an inside out, see what emotion comes forward and talks back. And I guarantee you, people want to knock it. I'm like, but let me tell you, you talk to your feelings, they talk back to you. So if I say avoidance, why are you here? I bet avoidance would say something like, well, I'm scared. I don't want to deal with what they're going to say. They're going to hurt me. I don't want to face the truth. This doesn't really matter to me. I don't really like this person. I don't need this. So then we look at all of these evidence, all this information we're getting about why this block is present. And we feel into, we don't think, we feel. And this is like where a lot of people miss the step. Your body knows, the whole body keeps the score. Your body's going to be the biggest compass on the clarity that you seek. I talk about this in the book, The Clarity Compass. So if you're noticing, oh, I really just don't like this person, suddenly you might feel expansion going, oh, I can give myself permission to just accept, I don't want to talk to you because I don't like you. And rather than judge myself because this is my truth, I can go, you know what I could do? I could either never have this conversation and accept that's what I need to do to move forward and say, I'm sorry, these are the consequences. Or I could have a conversation, not from this place of avoiding the talk that we needed to have, but saying, you know what? For the sake of both of us, I don't know if we're going to actually get to the outcome that maybe we thought we needed. And I'd rather take some space and move on in this way that serves us both. And I'm sorry if you have feelings about that, but I hope you can understand. And suddenly we've taken this block of avoidance and we've turned it into an opportunity to do something that serves everybody. Because when you do something that truly serves your highest good, and we know the difference, we want to say we don't, but when something is like surface level, like, oh yeah, like, I don't really want to do that. So like, I'm just going to like ghost them. Like, I'm not going to text them back versus being like, you know what? I'm going to stay in tonight because I need a night of self-care and I'm really sorry. I don't want to leave you hanging, but like, this is what I need. I hope you understand. You are serving everybody because that honesty is going to give that friend permission to go, well, I don't like you either. And we don't like each other. So let's make space for something better and let's accept each other because we were honest And you gave me the permission, the freedom, and the love, actually, to do what feels good to me. I might be mad at you. I might initially react, but my response in the long run is going to create a new story. Oh, I can do hard things. Oh, I don't have to avoid the thing that scares me. I can actually reframe it as an opportunity to empower myself and to set us both free, or to set myself free. So now I can reclaim this potential and do something different about it. And so I love blocks because they are our biggest source of evidence for what needs our attention most. And when you befriend them, suddenly that shadow that we look at as being so wounded and so scary and so dark, it actually becomes that that wallflower. I like to think of my shadow as my wallflower because it's misunderstood. It needs my attention. It wants to come on the dance floor, but it doesn't know how. It wants to hang out at the party, but it needs someone to talk to it first. It wants to tell you how it's feeling, but you got to be the one to initiate it sometimes. And sometimes they kill the vibe. Sometimes they bring you down. Sometimes you really don't like what they're doing, but they have a reason for being there. If you could be curious about why that is and accept that that discomfort is temporary, befriending your blocks in the long run is always going to be an opportunity for you to get closer to the thing you really want the most. Does that answer the
Mm.
question?
Amazing. Yes. Because I think,
How do you do that?
yeah.
You're so good at this, Julia. Like I could listen to you for hours. Sorry to cut you off, Mom.
No, that's okay.
I receive. Thank you. It's my love. I mean, this is my love language, is to talk about. I mean, people are always like, I struggle in this profession at times because you're like, when you're a coach, you're supposed to have a niche. You're supposed to know, how to sell the problem so you can sell this. For me, it's just as simple as like, being human is the most miraculous thing in the world. And even though it's a pain in the ass so much of the time, if you can truly look at your aliveness as a gift and really look at how you want to spend your time here, your limited time here, then for me, it's as simple as just going, let's just connect those dots and say it. And how many of us just don't have the courage or the ability to say it? And whatever you believe in, I call it source, but source gave me the ability to express it in words. And so thank you for saying that, because it's really the biggest compliment I can receive, to say what makes me happy to talk about is what I hope people feel good hearing. And, yes, I have the education and everything like that. But if you really like break everything down, truly, guys, if you really break every single idea of everything we know down to what's the point, I guarantee that you can do what I'm doing right now. I just do it more often.
I love the definition of blocks because we're going to have them always. And then when
Mm-hmm.
we face one, the next one's going to show up and the next one's going to show up.
Yep.
And so what a great idea. Just freaking talk to them and
Just
say,
talk to
okay,
them.
what do you need? What do you want? Like, why are
Mm.
you holding me back? And because I think we spend a lot of, Haley and I talk about this all the time. Mom, she'll text me, Mom, you're blocking this from happening, And
Mm.
I'll say, honey, I'm trying not to block it from happening. I'm trying, but we go back
Mm.
and forth because we're like, why isn't this happening? And we don't have to go down this rabbit hole, but it's about the timing and but I think what you just described as the work is key. And then let it be easy. So do the work and let it be easy. And you can kind of do all of that at the same time. But one more thing I just wanted to highlight that you said, because I think this is so important. So many difficult conversations. I think that was just the perfect example. But so many difficult conversations we don't want to have, or we do want to have, and maybe we want to have them because we want to be right. And because we want to speak and we want to say our side, and I want to say, I want you to hear me and understand my feelings. Like I can, my husband, this happens to us every single day. I want to have this conversation with you, and this is what I need. And I need you to show up for me, and I need blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, I need to be doing the work. If I need something, I need to create whatever that is. So it's like going back to, there's no magical conversation. Like, I'm not going to have a magical conversation that's going to fix everything. What you described is that you're doing the work before the conversation even happens.
Yes.
And that was such a beautiful way that you described that, because we have these ideas about how we want something to go, you know, or how we want the relationship to heal or whatever. And maybe it's not going to heal, as you explained too, as another possibility. But doing all of that work ahead of time and just listening to your own thoughts and saying, God, why am I so upset about this? What is going to come about if I ask for this, or ask this question, or have this conversation, this difficult conversation? And then if you kind of backtrack and go through it first before you even have the conversation. Anyway, you described it much better than I'm reviewing it. But what a great empowerment tool, really, to really feel like you're in charge. You know, you get to be in charge of yourself and your thoughts and your feelings. And, you know, you can see how this conversation is going to go, and how are you going to show up the most authentic way that you can. So those are all the things running through my head as you were talking. And just, I love that, because we all struggle with the difficult conversations, and, the block, whatever block it might be between connecting with people, or the block it may be between connecting with my work, or the block it may be between connecting with my health. So anyway, I wanted to just really highlight those things, because you nailed it.
I love what you're saying, because what you're mirroring back. This might sound a little bit of like a spiel, but this will be my last one. Is we're talking about the true difference between easy and ease, which is right at the beginning of the book.
Yes.
What I'm offering isn't the illusion of easy, it's ease. And that distinction matters, because while easy might catch your attention, sorry, and I put it in the title for a reason, it's not the kind of easy that we've been conditioned to chase. So easy is what we've been sold. It's the quick fix and the shortcuts and the picture perfect version of this life that looks effortless on the outside, but it leaves you feeling exhausted, unfulfilled, lost. It's about, bypassing effort entirely, like skipping the process and expecting the outcome. But what we're saying is ease is different. Ease is alignment. It's about finding flow, not fighting upstream. And it's not about avoiding effort. It's about making that effort meaningful. Because when you're in ease, even the hard stuff feels purposeful. The path feels open. And yes, sometimes it even feels easy. And that's the flavor of easy that we've been craving all along, but we've been chasing it the wrong way. The path to ease isn't paved with shortcuts, it's built on clarity. And when your actions and your values align, ease is not something you stumble upon, it is something that you create. And so, what I'm hearing you resonate with is the creation of the experience that you get to have, because it's an inside out experience versus an outside in going, this is the world I live in telling me who I should and need and have to be to get what I want. I'm saying, let's flip that on its head. Who said we have to do it that way? And when an ancient plant spirit shows you that actually you're doing fine when you rebel against these societal structures and say that you can do it on your own, you've been doing it for thousands of years. When you get that message, you go, all right, let's put it in the world. Let's see what happens. Then I'm a walking permission slip to say, I'm not saying don't completely quit your 9 to 5 and go live in the jungle, but I am saying if you wanted that, you will find a way to make it work.
Absolutely. I feel like that's such a testament. And people in my generation, they are so distracted by all the outside noise, and you graduate college and you are trained to go right into corporate. Corporate does not, corporate ain't for me. I hated corporate. I quit that shit like 7 months in. I was like, I'm not even going to last a year. No, this is not happening. And so many of these experiences have come up, and I'm not at all where I thought I would be in my career, but that's because I'm on my own path. And when we talk about stuff, being easy, and especially like with all this social media, and everyone just wants that like quick fix, and they want to take a pill to lose weight, or they're going to start their own business and they're like, oh, I made 100K in 4 days. And it's like, dude, no, you didn't.
No, you
And like,
didn't.
it's not that easy. And I think that that's the difference between having ease in your life and having easy in your life. And you have
Mm-hmm.
to know the difference, especially when you're coming into the world, and our 20s are such a crazy time in our lives. And it's just like, I love my 20s and I'm feeling it all and I'm receiving it all. But damn, this shit is hard sometimes. So I think it's really important to tell yourself that there's a difference between ease and there's a difference between easy, but you have to find that middle ground and to be able to live the life that you want to live. It's simple as that.
Girl, preach. I am with you. Amen. And I'll say this, once you get to your 30s, what they say about it is true. You stop caring, first of all, as much about what you're supposed to do, but also your 20s, I find, and this is a lot of my prime audience are people in their 20s. The generation is different because you guys are so much more primed with all of these resources. I mean, you have so much more knowledge and information than most of us had. I mean, not to say I'm that much older, but like we didn't know what the heck we were doing out of college. Like nobody had a platform or, instant quick chat GPT access, stuff like that. But I would say that the biggest thing in your 20s that I, not advising, but I encourage people to do is just be like, how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel every day? And this goes beyond just your 20s, but like when we get a little bit, more seasoned, we do kind of inherently with life experience know that it's going to get harder and time is going to go by faster. And things we thought were going to be our lives are probably not going to be our lives. So, how do you want to feel with what you have starting now? And if you can get into the habit of how you want to feel in your life now in your 20s, by the time you're psychologically fully developed, and for us, it's going to be around 29, for men, it's about 36. We're going to like already kind of have like done the easy part that I'm saying. You've kind of already hardwired that mental networking that's saying, oh, I know how to do this. I know how to be me. And if I know how to be me, then like I know how to do this game, this simulation, this thing we call life. But a lot of people play the game. And when you play the game, early on, it can be very hard to go, wait a minute. Are we being cheated? Do these rules make sense? Wait, there's a whole other like deluxe edition? So, yeah, man, in your 20s, like, I mean, it sounds so cliche. I'm not like make mistakes, see the world, but I am like give
Do.
yourself the grace, but I mean truly give yourself the grace to not know and see that as the biggest freaking like superpower, because when you can position, oh, I don't know what like I'm not doing what I thought I would be doing. It scares people when you're okay with that, because we're supposed to be conditioned to be like, I'm behind, I'm a failure, and like I'm less than, when in reality it's like, oh no, I'm in the position to be figuring out what I want. Whew, watch out, anything's possible from that place. And I mean that for everybody. Your 20s is just where I wish I would have learned it sooner.
What would you say to your 25-year-old self?
Stop doing so many drugs. I can't believe I just said that. You guys, I'm really being honest. That was a true wow. That I can't believe I'm actually blushing. I mean that only because I was a student of experience and I was very invested in what psychedelics were doing for my consciousness. It's another reason why I'm very in touch with my quote unquote shadow side, because I've really given myself a lot of space to go as deep as you possibly can. And that's a scary place for some. I probably at 25,
Is that when you were an actress? Were you
I
acting?
was I was gonna say I was also acting. I would have
Okay.
maybe told myself, besides not too ridiculous, I just said that. At
Mhm.
25, I maybe would have said, because I was working and I had started a theater company, so I was doing these again sort of successful things, but I still even then didn't really. I didn't really give myself permission in the same way that I'm talking about even now at 33. And so at 25, I would say to myself, let yourself have what you really want. Quit trying to prove it. Quit trying to prove it. Because I did a lot of things thinking that this would get me this feeling, or this would show people I'm good at this, or this would, highlight my talent or expertise. But again, even in all of those successes, they were just things on a to-do list that I said, I want to start a company. Okay, let's do it. As soon as I got my critically acclaimed show out, I was done. I didn't care. I moved on. So I would say, like, find the thing that makes you want to stick it out. Find the thing that makes you want to feel the way you want to feel. The advice I give myself is the advice I just give you. Figure out how the hell you want to feel, because you're looking
Yeah.
for it in all these places versus just trusting. I want to wake up into my life be freaking easy. I want freedom. I want to be me and be celebrated for being me. That's at 25 what I would tell myself. And yeah, stop doing so many drugs. And be nice to your mother. That is the
Yes.
biggest thing. If you have one, be nice to your mother, because one day you're going to recognize and feel exactly what they went through and go, wow, wow. My mom is a superhero, and I am so grateful to have her. That would be honestly my other advice.
Yeah.
I'm-
I
This one
love that you
right
guys do
here.
this. Oh, this is
We love it.
amazing.
We're
Well,
we're best friends. I call her my superwoman all the
I
time.
know we're so lucky, and that's why that's the whole wisdom pie thing is, I feel like I can share my wisdom with you guys and with Haley specifically, but she teaches me stuff every single time we talk. It's such a beautiful thing. And I think every 25-year-old needs to hear what you just said, because it's going to be a confusing time. I think most of them aren't asking. I think most kids are not asking, what do I want or how do I want to feel? They're just going through the grind and they're showing up at work every day. And I think, but then Haley asked what she wanted and what do I want to do? And she, bolted to Europe. And now she's like, oh, damn, now what? Snap. Now I got to figure this shit out. And I'm like, you're there, baby. You're going to figure this out. You will
Yeah.
figure this out. But it keeps coming back to over and over again. How do you want to feel? And I just love that, because we need to wake up every morning with that intention to start that. Thank you for that reminder, because we just get up and start going. And we lose kind of sight of, okay, what am I doing? Where am I going? What do I want to feel? And then we go to bed and we're like, shoot, I'm gonna start over again tomorrow.
I want to just say to that, first of all, I think what you guys are doing is incredible. I have never had a tag team podcast by mother and daughter, and I love this. This is really special. And so, yes, this is a
Thank you.
full body yes. Thank you for bringing me into the space. And the second thing is, and this is not a plug, this is not a sell, but you've now encountered my energy. You've now seen how I can talk about things. If you or anyone is seeking that additional support, but also that additional mirror to really help figure out, what do I do? That's what coaching does. That is what these containers are built to create, so that you can really actually design this blueprint of your soul. And from that, go, I think I want to do this. Okay, I have like the courage and the faith and the trust in myself to do that, versus just like it coming from a goal based lifestyle. So that's another thing. If you want to talk more, girl, hit me up. Thirdly, the other thing I would say about the advice I'd give a 25-year-old: claim your love language and own it fiercely.
Oh, mic
Mm.
drop. That is
We are
an
taught
awesome
about
one.
5. We know the 5 are the words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Those are the 5 basics, but there are layers and flavors of all of them. And when you can really identify what makes you feel love and how you give it, do not let someone take that away from you. Do not waver. Do not question. Allow it to evolve, allow it to expand, but do not lose sight of it, because that is the currency between people that truly makes things happen. And when I say that, like you're seeing how like deeply I mean this. When you know what you bring to the table and how you like to receive it, the entire world will change. If you can't tell, mine is words. And I know that when someone gets in relationship with me or connection, you will expect this level of word and I will ask it back. But it could be something as simple as when someone cooks you dinner, or the way that somebody, kisses you on the cheek when you wake up in the morning. Find those flavors and own them fiercely. That would be honestly what I would tell myself.
That's
Love that.
beautiful. Because that's another thing, the relationships piece, kids settle in relationship also that they should not stay in for those exact reasons. It's not a match. It's not a fit. Julia,
Yeah.
do we have time to ask you one more question?
I have nothing but time for you guys. I'm
Okay.
here. Let's
We've
keep
kept you.
going.
Haley, do you mind if I ask another question?
I'm
Please.
free.
Okay. Well, you have a section in your book about manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how you talk about it because you say manifesting, and sometimes that word, that word now has a visual, for
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's woo woo or whatever it may be, but just kind of give us your spiel on maybe the process of manifesting, or is it about letting it be easy? Is it about picking a thing and going for it and being open to it happening for you? Give us your manifesting spiel.
My manifesting vibes. I would
Yeah.
say that for me, manifesting is very synonymous and equivalent with how you want to feel. So when we think of manifesting, we think of what am I going to get? We're already at the outcome. I'm manifesting a job. I'm manifesting a relationship. I'm manifesting more money. What people overlook is who's the person that's getting all of these things? The person who's sitting on their couch scrolling saying, I'm manifesting a new job. Is the person sitting on the couch who's passively waiting for these things happening going to be the person who receives that 100K check? Probably not. So for me, manifesting is stepping into the energy and the feeling of the person who has these things already. And you'll hear this with so many types of manifestors. I don't claim any originality to this, but what I claim and why I use the tool of manifestation is when you are in alignment with how you want to feel, it's sort of inevitable by the law of attraction that some version of an outcome will attract, will attract to the person who is becoming that beacon. So think of it like a magnet. If I want my true love to find me, well, if I'm hating on myself all the time, or if I'm like sitting at home all the time and I'm never around anybody, or I'm like not taking care of myself, who's going to probably love that person? Maybe not somebody who's maybe serving my highest good. So what do I want to manifest? I want to manifest the love and recognize it in another person. I'm going to try to condense this a little bit because this is sometimes a little bit of a spiel, like you said. When you are the beacon of the thing you want, you will become the magnet of it. So if you want to be a millionaire, people will say, okay, well then wake up like a millionaire. Well, how does a millionaire wake up? Do they snooze their alarm clock probably 10 times and wear their like crusty, sweatpants and like, sit and like scroll while they're drinking their lukewarm coffee? Probably not. Maybe. If that's your version of a millionaire, maybe. For most, it's probably like, you know what? I'm going to get up at 7. I'm going to put on, an outfit that makes me feel fresh. And I'm going to have my coffee going like, damn, I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire going to the grocery store. I'm a millionaire getting gas in my car. It's basically telling your system and telling your body, I am the magnet for this thing I desire. And so when you can, in practice and in process, become more open to receiving that and the person who can hold that, it's more likely that you will manifest that thing. But I want to just say, because sometimes like when I talk about manifestation, it's sort of like I'm actually looking at something right now that I have about manifestation because again, it can kind of be something that feels like I hear what you're saying, but I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? I don't know what you're talking about. So if you think about getting crystal clear on what you actually want and shifting the way you think and taking small aligned actions, that's going to build some serious momentum to you getting closer to this bigger thing that you believe you want. And you might even find that in the process, you might change what you think you want. So it's not really about wishful thinking or sitting back and waiting for the universe to deliver. It's about getting clear, showing up, and taking aligned action towards you what you want. And I created the manifestation challenge. It's this 22-day challenge, totally inspired by other challenges I've done before. I'm completely honest as an artist when I say like, I stole the crap out of this and made it my own. But in 22 days, I was like, if I can create creative prompts, visuals, exercises, and audios that get me feeling like this higher level being, then what is that going to do? That's going to tell the universe, oh, she's operating at a higher level. Oh, she's on, you guys. She's frequent. Ooh, she's radiating. Let's beam it her way. Like we can see her, we can feel her, beam it her way. And if I'm saying, I'm ready for $100,000, I'm ready for that $1 million check. I've created space in my life. I'm ready to handle it with care. I believe that I'll do good with it. And I believe I'm worthy of it. Why wouldn't it come to me? Like, why wouldn't it happen? But again, what I think a lot of people do is like, okay, it's on my vision board. I see that check for $1 million. I'm manifesting this year. I'm manifesting. And then at the next January, they go, it didn't happen, you guys. And I go, what did you do this year to like manifest? And they'll be like, well, I looked at my vision board every single day, or I did my morning pages. I'm like, cool. I'm like, did you check your horoscope too? Because I do all the same things. But what I would say is, what did you do to align your energy with that check? You just saw it as a visual thing on a board outside of yourself. How did that live inside of you? How did you feel $1 million? What did $1 million feel like? Right now, if I'm being honest, $1 million feels kind of overwhelming. I'm kind of like, oh God, what the hell would I do with that right now? I have to figure out where to invest it. I have to put it in a savings account. So I'm probably not going to manifest $1 million this year because I feel a little overwhelmed by it. But I'm set to hit like a 6 figure. And I'm like, yeah, that feels good. That feels like a good, like, I'm doing enough work for 6 figures. I'm showing up. I'm taking care of myself. I feel like a 6 figure year is like a good, yeah. And can you feel it? Do you see how
Right.
my energy is affecting? So I'm probably going to manifest 6 figures because I feel that 6 figures is a yes for me. $1 million doesn't feel like a yes for me. And like, you got to be honest with yourself. Some people will be like, I'm limiting myself. I'm not saying yes to my desires. No, you're not. You're being honest. You're being realistic about where you're at. You're accepting where you're at so that you can get clear on what you want and take intentional steps to get there. The myth is that manifestation is magic. The reality is that manifestation is momentum with a little bit of
Beautiful.
magic imbued because nothing comes without magic. Let's just say it. But yeah, do the 22-day. I'm not saying do it. I'm saying like the 22-day manifestation challenge lives on my website. I actually do it. Like I created a thing I do. My friend just did it. She is like a non-believer, practical as hell. And she calls me, she goes, okay, I'm like dating a guy. She's like, and I just got this producer for the movie I'm making. And I'm going, write a testimonial, put it in the world and tell everybody this shit really works because it wasn't just her saying, I want this, it's going to happen. It was her saying, yeah, the day that I had to look in the mirror and talk to myself and drink a glass of water that represented like my desires, she's like, I felt that. I felt a shift in myself. I went, yeah. Because these little rituals, these little exercises prime you to become this being that cannot help but call in what it wants. Manifestation.
Yeah. Do you do you think that turns on your receiving button also? The receiving, I think, is hard a lot of times for people. They and does that have to do with knowing what you want, manifesting what you want? Anyway, I'm interested in the receiving part, like turning on your receiving button, literally.
I would say receiving, yes. Let me think about this. I want to be very intentional with how I say this because different people will hear this differently. Receiving feels and looks different for every person. Receiving is often a practice and a process. It's something that a lot of us have blocked as we get older or more experienced. We often tend to give, and give as a means to believe that we will get back some feeling. But you'll notice that's where the burnout and the overwhelm and the blocks start to become. So I just want to highlight that so we understand what we're saying. We also believe that if we give, it makes us more worthy. It makes us more, that we will get something from it, right? When you are manifesting, you might not receive something right away. You might even go, nothing is happening, or I'm not feeling anything. And when that happens, I say, great, you're in the exact right spot, because this is where your faith is going to be tested. This is where your belief systems are going to kick in. If you are not receiving, I would implore you to go inward and say, what does receiving feel like? Do I need a physical evidence to know that I've gotten the thing that I believe I want? That's where I would say process, ritual, and practice is where I would guide you, because receiving is an inside job and it's very, very subtle. Giving is loud, receiving is quiet. Through these rituals and these practices, you will start to notice what it feels like to receive. So I wouldn't say that it's a receive button. I would say it's a dimmer. And you're starting off kind of low, and you're slowly turning up the volume on what and how clearly you receive. So it's sort of like having your own radio station. And a lot of us are getting like, that white noise. I'm not receiving clarity. I'm not receiving a good vibe. I'm receiving crap. Okay, well, you're going to have to tweak things a little bit. You might have to move the car a little bit. You might have to move the station. Or you might have to just go, radio's not working. Turn it off today. But the next day, you just tweak it a little bit. Okay, move it a little bit. And when you adjust and fine tune your behavior, your belief systems, your values, the vision of the life you want, suddenly you start noticing, oh, that makes me feel good. Or like, ooh, I'm getting a weird vibe around this person. Or, oh, getting up at 6 a.m. It didn't work. I don't feel good. And you'll start noticing the barometer of how it makes you feel is what you're receiving from it. So I actually tried to extinguish the notion that receiving is this immediate thing that we all are sort of gaining access to, because you could be a completely open, spiritual, open-hearted human, but like I still have difficulty receiving at times. I want to give and give and give because I'm a healer, a space holder. How do I receive that love and attention? I sort of have to prep myself and go, well, I accept that I need this. My body will benefit from this, and oh, it feels good to be hugged after a long client call. Okay. It doesn't feel good when I'm left alone and, wanting to cry. It feels good. So I'll be open to receiving it more and more and more and more. And now I go, hug. I need hugs, because now I've learned receiving that is a good thing to me. But in manifestation, especially, be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you believe you want, because you might say, oh, I want my life partner to come to me. Well, if you haven't gotten clear on what that is, you might receive something that doesn't serve you and becomes a lesson. And so I'd say receiving is synonymous with, what do you want to hear on the radio? And when will you know that that's what you're getting? You're going to have to play with it a little bit. And when you find a station you like, lock it in. You're receiving.
Nice.
But yeah, the whole notion of the receive button, I would say that's where we're very hard on ourselves, because that's where we believe, oh, I'm not good at receiving, or there's a story that I'm not getting enough, or I must give in order to receive. Well, everyone's worthy of feeling good. And so receiving at its primal notion, it is your birthright to feel good. It feels good to feel good. Receiving and reception is in alignment with that concept.
Lots of wisdom drops today.
Girl.
I love it.
I'm like, it's Thursday. Let's go.
We're primed and ready.
That was such a great way to explain manifestation, because you're right. So many people, oh, let's make a vision board for 2025. You have to actually take action towards those manifestations for them to come true. And I think that that's what a lot of people forget. And you explained that perfectly.
Thank you. And I'll be the first to say, I have a vision board. It's huge and it's framed. I mean, people are coming to my house being like, what the heck is, I'm like, it's my vision board. But I keep it that way because, I mean, the month of January, all I did was clean my house. All I did was clean my house. People are like, what did you do last month? I'm like, oh, I've been just cleaning my house for a month, for a full month, because that is what I needed to do to get in the frequency of the person I need to be to receive the downloads that will help me take action on all these ideas I told you about. But what do I need to do to feel good? I need to completely clean my house like I've never cleaned it before. And I'm giving myself permission that if I do that, it's okay. I have enough money to survive. I will not be on the streets without a shirt on my back or food in my mouth. It's okay. People will still love me, and I will be able to show up for someone if they need me. But it's okay if I also say I'm not available. And I share that with people because I'm like, you don't have to be the best version of yourself right away just because you saw it in a vision once. Give yourself time to be that person. Then you can be that person longer. If that makes sense.
Gosh, we really hit some, I mean, this is a really powerful conversation. And I think lots of things to go out into the world with. And I would love to hear about your, did you mention something in March that you're doing? Sounds like you have some really cool ideas to continue sharing your book.
So we will be launching the audiobook. I believe it's the end of March. So you'll be able to hear me actually say these words, which will be fun. We're also launching, I say we, because I got a whole admin team behind me. We are launching a like interactive mastermind that pairs with the book. So when you buy the book, you get a QR code access to an exclusive library of free resources that basically are all of the exercises in the books, as well as some additional opportunities. I kind of wanted to take that information and give people the opportunity to be a little bit more guided. Maybe you read the book or maybe you don't, but the It Gets to Be Easy Mastermind is just a pretty simple, do on your own time at your own pace opportunity to sort of go through the levels of the book at a time that feels like, oh, there's structure behind it. So it's some of the same information, some of the same exercises, and a little bit extra guidance from me and how to apply these concepts into your life that feels a little bit more hands-on. Plus you get access to 2 coaching sessions with me by doing the mastermind. So you kind of get a behind the scenes feel of what it really means to start out and end with It Gets to Be Easy. Additionally, we have plans for a retreat at the end of this year. I haven't announced any specific details, but I will say if you're looking for the opportunity to retreat from the world and return to yourself and share some like-minded wisdom with some open individuals, this is the type of thing for you. My zone of genius besides words is event planning. I know how to create a world, girls, and I know how to make it feel like you don't want to leave it. And I'm so excited to be activating those spaces again this year after so many years of mental. So we'll be launching information about that in April. And guys, I got a podcast on the way. So be prepared to come on my side of the mic because we've got one baby on the back burner. Girls, like we're letting it be easy AF. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Girls. So yeah, we're gonna be launching that. I believe that's also either end of April or beginning of May. So we got a lot of things on the docket for this year. Maybe I'm writing another book. I don't know. But we're just chilling. We're just letting it be easy. And, I'm really leaning into the existential side of myself this year, the easy existentialism. And so I'm looking at content, I'm looking at long form, I'm looking at vlogging and just saying, what happens if I just show people what I'm up to versus here's the thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Oh, we'll look
totally.
forward to all that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Haley and
Pimp
I are
yourself
lining
out.
up I just was going to say, Haley and I are lining up a retreat. We're manifesting a retreat schedule for this year.
Ooh, girls, I
So
feel it.
we'll be anxiously awaiting to hear the details of what you have planned. I'm sure it will be
Oh my
incredible.
gosh. I would love it. It's also very, I'll just say, like, my mom is a big influence in my event spaces. So I'm like, there's a lot of mother energy that I love to call into these, especially for my ladies out there. And it's the beginning of what we call symposium. So I plant that seed without saying more about it, but the beginning of symposium will be this year. And that's going to be hopefully the legacy I leave behind.
Yeah,
Nice.
count us in. We'll be
Oh, I
there.
can't wait. Guys, we're going to be chilling. This is just the start. I'm like, we have so many things to do together. I love it.
I know, we really do. Tell us where everyone can find you. What are your channels? What's your website? All the
Get the
things. We'll
book.
link everything below.
You can find my book anywhere books are sold online, specifically Amazon. And when you buy it, please go ahead and leave a review. I really, truly love to hear what people think. And you can find me on my website. I am juliahenning.com. It's a interactive digital, basically like video game of a world we created. That's everything that's me, and I love it. You can find me on Instagram at I am Julia Henning. That's where I'm doing all the behind the scenes. I'm talking to the camera. And hopefully this year, we're playing around with the title, but I'm pretty sure on YouTube you'll be able to find me at I am Julia Henning or Easy AF. But yeah, I would say DM me on Instagram, sign up for coaching on my website, and let's stay connected. I love to make new friends.
Oh, we
Perfect.
love you so much, Julia.
Yeah.
We're so
I
happy
love
you
you
came on.
guys. Oh, thank you. What a divine intervention and such a beautiful opportunity. These are my favorite talks to have, and you guys created a beautiful space to do it. So thank you so much.
Thank
Yay.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Yeah. What a blast. Thank you, Julia, for your time. So generous to hang out with us. And you've left me with a lot of really great things to do and think and feel. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my
Exciting.
pleasure. Let it be easy, guys. Let it be easy.
Let it be easy. Our new motto. I love it. Okay. Ciao for now.